Hey everybody, welcome to Iconoclast Knowledge Bureau Monday Merchant Insights. Today, we talk about how technology is shaping Africa. You know that place? It's been the darkest continent on earth for a really, really long time. And now we're going to look over a couple of examples that are happening in the continent that are shaping the future of the continent. In the past, Africa was that place where you mined minerals, you extracted, you exported to the global west, you created a finished product and you imported a finished product at a multiple of the cost of extraction. Now, we'll look at some of the new value adds, specifically in the technology space, that are shaping the future of the continent. These are your examples. Our first example is Uber. You know them, the guys that disrupted the global transportation space specifically for commuters who didn't want to own, but rather share or lease for a period of time, if you want to call it. They call it really a ride-share experience on the Uber platform. What they did when they entered the continent of Africa, just around the time they reached their $68 billion evaluation mark around 2016, they entered Africa and within a period of 3 years had reached 9 countries throughout the continent of Africa. That's over 3 million consumers. These are astronomical numbers. 0 to 3 million users in 3 years and 9 countries, all in a space of 3 years, is absolutely phenomenal. And what Uber did, which is perhaps the greatest success of Uber, isn't necessarily the number of riders they got or the ride share periods they got or the number of transactions, but actually what they did is they got the African consumer to get used to buying the product over the phone. And that is our first example, Uber. You may or may not be aware, but Africa is one of the highest road fatality figures in the world. In fact, it has the highest, according to a report released in 2015. That's 26.6% of every 100,000 people on the road. Africa experiences 26.6 thousand deaths of the number of vehicles or instruments to ride with on the road. Specifically in East Africa, if you think about it, they have these motor vehicles in Kenya and in Uganda, they call them the bora bora. And what it is you get on the back of a bike and somebody takes you around. So the Rwandans started thinking about how do we answer this question of fatality as well as safety to increase mobility? What do we know? People who are moving are people who are economically active. So it's a good thing that we have people moving because it means the economy is growing, but it's not so good if we're losing our workforce and labor force because of the fatality rates. So the Rwandan government invested in a small little tech startup called Safe Motos. And in effect, what they did is they started looking at driving patterns and riding patterns on the platform of Safe Motos, and they started decreasing how people were riding, as well as incentivizing riders to ride better. Lower fatalities mean more people ride. It means you have a higher productivity in labor force, which means you get a growing economy. Second example of how technology is helping shape the continent of Africa. They won the prize as the most innovative bank in the world. Yeah, our very own First National Bank, or as we call them here at home, FNB. How can we help you? You may or may not be aware, but FNB has been playing around with this technology that uses video sensing or image sensing on the face to create an encrypted code so that it can align the image sense and the encryption of a code to an actual account. Think about it this way. It's like a complicated ID number or a biometric on your fingerprint, but this can actually assign to your face. Yeah. So what have they done? Kind of a world first. They're introducing image technology to creating an online actual banking account. The account with the selfie. This is huge. Why? Well, just think about the problem we've had in most parts of Africa. If you have a large, vast geographical area, people living in one part that is rural, another part that is urban, it's hard to build banking systems and banking infrastructure in rural parts of Africa. So what do? You make the people migrate from the rural areas to the urban areas. Not so, not if you have a smartphone. Now it means I can take a picture, send you some identity documentation to authenticate, and all of a sudden you can create an account for me. This changes the game on how we're transforming banking and making it available not only to those who understand it, but also to the rural masses who in many parts of the continent have not been allowed access to banking infrastructure. Our third example of our technology shaping the continent, our very own FNB. No question. What are the 3 biggest issues facing Africa today? Access to financial services, education, and healthcare. How do we answer specifically the healthcare problem? Well, it's again a big problem. Africa, vast geographical area, huge dispersion of people, rural areas, urban areas, a bit of peri-urban. I mean, this is a massive, massive issue. Not only that, but every time you build a hospital infrastructure, it's got a 5-year lead-in period, billions of rands tied up in capital to build it. Then you've got to find the actual facilities, you've got to find the staffing. It's a big problem. Africa's biggest problem has been that we have linear thinking answering exponential problems. Well, the guys at Zipline have thought about a solution to this, and I think it's absolutely brilliant, which is this. Why don't we just use drone technology? Why? Because with a drone, it means we can move medication from anywhere to anywhere without actually falling foul of any of the infrastructure that's there. So the roads, whether or not the roads are available, even if it rains, we can still move drones from one part of the world to another. Oh, hold on. What happens if you're sick and you don't know why? Well, we can send a drone to you, collect a sample of your blood, bring it to the testing facility, diagnose, we get accurate diagnoses, and we do it all really, really quickly. Zipline has fundamentally transformed how we're delivering healthcare in the continent. Did you know they're doing 500 flights a day at the moment? 500 flights. They're flying over 75 kilometers every single day, just making these deliveries and collecting blood samples. Now, think about it this way. Right now, they're touching 0.5% of the African continent using drone technology. Now, you can think about it any way you want. Governments can't roll out roads and put on trucks on the road as quickly as we can build drones and deliver these services and infrastructure to our people. What's that mean? At 0.5%, if they're doing 500 rides a day, what happens when we're at 50%? The number is absolutely exponential. It's astronomical. And this is how technology is shaping parts of the continent. One of the things you notice is Africa doesn't need technology that's like cool little apps about a fad or a game that people play. Africa needs technologies that are fundamentally shaping how people live, how we're banking, how we are transporting goods, how we're accessing education, accessing healthcare. That's the stuff Africa needs. And in our latest report, as I've summarized on Monday Morning Insights, is all of this information about how the continent and technology are intersecting to build an Africa for the future.